Hi everyone, Namaste, dear yogis and beautiful guests of my channel. I'm Lisa Grail. My mother once said that my biggest talent is to calm down people and install trust and faith in them. Though I must admit that before I was doing this out of big necessity to save people, but after stabilization of awakening and some lessons I learned along this way, I lost someone inside me who liked saving lives around. But I still like to observe how energy in person shifts after talking to me. It's more perceived as a beautiful game or interaction of energies. Sometimes person even forgets that he was concerned about something. If I feel some tension in someone, I automatically want to stabilize the energy. When I was a girl during sport dancing competitions, I noticed that when I'm calming down everyone around, my anxiety regarding competition goes away. I was doing this intuitively, but now I realize that this is a good psychological mechanism, and after awakening is just your gift, that you really can affect people in very good and positive manner. So I guess through my podcasts I can deliver the state of calmness to people too. And this is harmonization in which I see the beauty, because you know that I'm not a fighter. The only thing in which I was fighting all my life is inner Hitler, which was screaming at me, limiting me, devaluing me, and causing huge suffering and depression. Probably I won't say something completely new in this podcast, but again I want to unfold spiritual awakening and this beautiful experience from a little bit different angle. So all that I'm sharing and saying on this channel is more or less about spiritual awakening and end of suffering and war within you. So who is interested in spiritual awakening but never experienced it knows anyways that there should be some process of disidentification with a personality, ego, to whom we've been glued to as to an image since birth. These are our names, genders, nationality, story, likes, dislikes, judgments, programs. Awakening is a concrete experience of recognition that all these qualities are not me real. And not through logical conclusion, but through perception. And today my message will be about the beauty of our life game. After listening, you will forgive all your enemies and will start enjoying life, being even excited to experience more and more things which caused anxiety to your ego mind before. Coming back to the process of the true awakening, during this experience, it's perceived that consciousness was never inside the body. It's the other way around. The body exists within consciousness. Feels like a slight psychedelic trip. The same awareness that moves the leaves in the wind, that flows through every drop of rain, is the same awareness that moves your breath, that moves your avatar. Those who've touched samadhi or deep meditative states know this truth directly. You suddenly become the wall, the air, the table, sometimes everything around you. Not metaphorically, but literally, as one continuous field. Body as if disappears or becomes light as feather. So I continuously can perceive my reality as a trip. When I'm at the music club, I'm the music itself. I'm all musicians. Everything kind of blends. And it's a very beautiful state. Maybe you felt this, at least for 5 seconds. You look at the flower and there is no separation, only color and light vibrating. Or you are doing Kundalini yoga meditations on my channel and suddenly the boundary between your skin and the air disappears. And you feel like your electromagnetic field around the body expands to enormous size. That's not imagination, that's what reality looks like when consciousness stops being filtered through the small self. So that's why in the altered states of consciousness, masters are able to do what seems impossible. Levitate, walk through walls, stop time, heal instantly. These abilities aren't supernatural, they are natural when consciousness stops believing in limitation, in the physical laws, realizes itself as almighty. But, and this is important, such capacities open only when the avatar is ready and responsible enough to hold that power with purity and love. In other words, it doesn't have ego programs. Before such expansion, we have physical laws that are unshakable. For instance, levitation is impossible, or life of the body without nutrition, not because it's an ultimate law and truth, but because the limited consciousness rules the body and projects its program to each cell like old school operational system. I like to give this example that I had a huge fear and connection in my head that my body weight depends on food quantity I'm eating. When I was a small kid, I was eating a lot, but food was not absorbed properly. I could not digest properly because of Gilbert syndrome, and no matter how I was eating, I was dystrophic at 13, and I got to hospital with low hemoglobin and dystrophia of second type. And since then, people were saying, you're so skinny, you need to eat more. And I was trying to eat more, but unfortunately, this bunch of food I was eating could not be processed properly with my body. So body weight doesn't depend on food straightly. It's much more complex process, which is also ruled by our psyche. So now I see that my body weight doesn't depend on quantities of my food. And this is only one small example of how we can rewrite limiting beliefs. So samadhi experience is not a concept. It's the direct experience of unity. You realize you have never been this body or personality. The body is also you, but it's inside you. You've always been the field in which the body appeared and lives life. Sometimes there are sensations that body walks on its own, talks on its own, as if it never belonged to you and never was under your control. This absolute state of trip, of such expansion, is very hard to maintain while functioning in the physical world. But there is a softer version I call the natural high. You know, I like to call it high as balls. I even have squinty eyes when I sometimes experiencing this, like if I'm a little bit drunk or under drugs. This is a state of bliss, and it perceived as if you are walking through a luminous dream. In this state, you meet people without projection. You no longer see others, only consciousness looking at itself through different eyes. You realize I am this person too, and this object too, and everything is vivid, everything is alive. And those jokes about avocado is being hurt when you eat avocado is not a joke. This is concrete experience of people who heard how avocado is screaming when it's being cut under the knife. Meat lovers have these jokes about vegans that why you hurting the plants. And this is correct because everything is alive. Everything is blending inside each other at some concrete moment, probably to be predator, to consume someone's flesh is also just energies interacting with each other in this manner. It's no longer can be perceived as good or bad, but at some moment when your consciousness is self-sufficient, you just don't need to consume anything, anyone, even a plant, even avocado. Thus, we make a conclusion that consciousness projects the outer world. Consciousness forms what happens outside. Every situation, every person you meet, every problem, so-called, is consciousness reflecting your inner state back to you. If you feel rejected, the world will mirror rejection. If you feel abundant, the world will overflow with opportunities that you can direct this energy for creativity, for making some project and give it to the world. Life is only our mirror. It's not enemy, it's not punishing, karma. At this moment, I even don't believe in karma, because karma is just what ego mind programs projecting outside. But one who realizes that he can be out of the karma immediately goes out of the karma. So when I realized all this happened in summer 2023, and it changed my perception completely. I shared my video here partly describing the process that every person I met started saying my thoughts out loud, or I was just reading the thoughts of people. I was feeling them as I feel myself, literally. So different faces, different voices, but one consciousness speaking through all of us. I felt like the whole world woke up. Everyone was awakened, and as if all my life was waiting for me to awaken too. Of course, the state is needed to be stabilized and deepened if mental capacity allows. I mean, literally, these states can be overwhelming, and God forbid, if we share with someone who is not ready, it can lead us to the house named you know how. And in such houses, usually there are people who are half awakened or could not stabilize awakening and considered sick, mentally sick, because they cannot function in society properly. That's why society closing these people in houses. But usually awakening comes with waves and layered, and the mind tries to pull us back, which is not bad, by the way, because we can compare the states. The mind will be barking like they don't love me, they don't value me, I'm alone, blah blah blah, all kind of ego-attached programs. At such moments, if you are facing such rollbacks to the previous perception from the ego mind, just don't believe your ego mind. Remember this state of high and unity that has only one quality: taste of unconditional love. Also in this state there unfolds the revelation that no one truly rejects me. It's your own consciousness playing both roles, the one who fears and the one who appears to reject, like a dream where you meet your own projections. After awakening, you will be feeling everywhere like home, like in safety place. When we forget this, we become attached, like a child who is afraid to lose its parents. When we remember who we are again, we return to wholeness, even if no other bodies are around. Unity is never lonely. And I've said it many times, there is no one to blame. There are only programs, patterns replaying through people and events. When we transcend them, we become free creators of our own timeline. Programs that caused assessments and suffering are going away. But before it happens, even suffering has its place. Consciousness explores itself through duality, through contrast, through loss and gain, through light and shadow. From a high view, even war, conflict is a part of the interaction of different energies, nothing more, as well as the pain in the body is only some intense sensations that can be diluted through relaxed observation without anyone inside who is suffering about the pain. If someone inside appears with poor me judgment, then pain intensifies. So this is the key for self-healing, just diluting this pain throughout the body and perceive it as some sensation. And believe me, I checked many times, pain goes away. All I'm saying today is to avoid traps of enlightened ego. I see some people awaken, really had samadhi experiences, and then they realize that we were kinda hypnotized all our life. Even if we knew some information, we could not be suffering so much. And they appears fighting the system, trying to save other people, to convey idea, or appears the savior. I had a temptation to do the same, to be honest. And don't get me wrong, matrix with rigid rules and so-called evil really exists, but only as long as you are playing in its games. But when you connect to your inner power of your own spirit, you are going out of matrix, though you still observe other people playing inside the matrix. After spiritual awakening, some people return into the ego, not in constructive manner, which only creates new separation, new wars, new cults, and new game inside the game. True awakening is silent and gentle, to the degree that after awakened ego calmed down a little bit and states are deepening, you are living them without need to share so much. And also you realize nothing needs to be destroyed or fixed. Everything is already divine and okay. And ascension, real ascension, comes to those who have accepted duality, not those who reject it. It's often very personal path, though sometimes souls ascend together. But it's not the topic of this video. So you are absolutely free. No one can control your consciousness. Not governments, not systems, not even biology. We can choose any lifestyle we want. If the current one destroys the body, We can stop communicating with someone who is not pleasant and so on. Your body literally responds to your awareness. Change your state and you change your chemistry. Peace within produces healing hormones. Love boosts immunity. Presence regenerates cells. If you captivate the state of inner youth, you will be living forever. That's why deep meditators need less food or sleep. Deep meditators, these are people who are always high. Their bodies feed directly on consciousness. And there are some helpers, tools on the way to spiritual awakening. For instance, cleansing our vessel. Because a dense, toxic body clouds perception. So, you're welcome to pass Alchemy of Health Herbal Detox. Write me on email. When the body is clean, you really get rid of apathy, depression, and you have clarity in your mind. It's a good foundation to absorb energy, to make your fluids in the body run quickly and nourish each cell of your body. There's no blocks, no cluttering inside your organs. More information about Alchemy of Health you can find in separate playlist which is named Alchemy of Health. So try to flip your perception that there are no separate people. Every story in your life, every so-called bad event, again, all of it is your own consciousness reflected outward. You are the dreamer and the dream. You are the painter and the painting. And the moment you realize this, creation becomes conscious. If you're going through awakening, unusual sensations, expanded perception, or emotional purging, some mental instabilities, don't be afraid of them. It's just consciousness reorganizing itself through your form. You can book a consultation with me if you have some questions regarding your state, and I can guide you. Until then, stay true and kind. The rest things never mind. Sat Nam.